June 17th at 4:30 p.m. This is City Hall, and we're located at 601 South Buchanan Street here in Amarillo. We're in the council chambers on the third floor of City Hall. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Johnny Glick so she could moderate our public address.
Mayor, we don't have anybody signed up today.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Johnny. I appreciate that. So, Council, we are here today. If you will remember, this past Tuesday, we talked about item J, which was on our consent agenda, and it was, we voted to award the installation of water and electrical utilities at the Santa Fe Depot, which is located at 401 South Grant Street in Amarillo, Texas, to the Tri-State General Contracting Group Incorporated in the amount of $102,870.76. And then we, after several discussions, we were looking at the new Pavilion Events Center, and we decided to table that. But at that particular time, we had conversations around the height of the pavilion. So Council Member Cole Stanley wanted to increase the scope of the project from the pavilion being from 14 feet to 25 feet, along with the cost of the pavilion from 1.5 to approximately $3 million. So we had asked Mr. City Manager to go back and get some additional bids and let us know what that cost is. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jared Miller.
All right, Mayor. Thank you, or Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. Great job summarizing. We have three options for you to consider today. The base option is what we talked about on Tuesday. It is a slightly different price because we have modified the colors of the building to match the buildings that are already out there on the Santa Fe Depot site. So a cream-colored vertical surfaces and a red roof for the facility. So it'll blend in real well with everything that's out at the Santa Fe Depot. But we have three options for you to consider. Those three options will all, well, here they are. I'll just go through them, and then we have Jerry Danforth here to answer any questions that anybody might have. So option one is the option that we talked about, 1.6, almost $1.7 million. That's about $100,000 more than it was when we were talking Tuesday because of the color changes. Option two moves it up to 20 feet in height for the eaves. Now we're also going to bring, so from the eave, we're going to have vertical metal panels that will bring the entry down to 8 feet. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be 8 feet of open space from the ground to the first level of the metal where you have the vertical surface. So that's going to keep the wind, it's going to manage the wind and elements pretty well. Going up to 25 feet or 20 feet was going to let a lot of wind through there. That was going to be problematic for WRCA and I think for any sports or any other user in there. So this will do a really good job of managing wind. So both options 2 and 3 have an 8-foot entry. And we'll also have multiple places for trucks to be able to come in with livestock or whatever. So option 2 goes to 20 feet tall eaves, $2.054 million. And option 3 goes to 25-foot eaves at $2.105. So there's only about $50,000 difference between options 2 and 3. We're recommending that we move forward with option 3. The increases in cost of approximately $425,000 is driven by deeper piers, a lot more concrete, more metal. So that's what's driving that cost. This, as we have it proposed right here, does not include the concrete or the lights inside the facility. So what we're going to do first, what I would propose that we do first, and if council authorizes this, what I would do is have this installed prior to WRCA without the concrete or the lights, because that's what they need, and that's what the Farm and Ranch Show is going to need. We're going to then, in the spring, once we have the weather back with us, we're going to put in the concrete and the lights. That'll be in the early spring. So it's still going to be cold, but we will have it done as early as possible next year in 2023. Total cost of all of that, the 2.1 here plus about $600,000 estimated to do the concrete and the lights, is going to be all in around $2.7 million.
Okay.
We will also do streetscape around there, but that's going to be part of the larger Civic Center project and will not be part of this project.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions that I or Jerry can answer for you?
How do
Counsel?
we plan on paying for it?
This that was a great question and a very key piece of information that I did not share with you, and I should have. Thank you for prodding me in that direction. One of the things that we researched, and I want to commend Jerry and our bidder. When we talked on Tuesday, we gave Jerry 7 days to get this pricing information. He had it for us yesterday. So
He doesn't look like he's sweating very much either.
no, he does not let moss grow under his rock. So he pushes that rock. So we also, in addition to giving Jerry that task, we also gave Laura the task of determining what our funding source options were for this. And we determined that we have adequate funds to pay for this entire project up to $3 million. But like I said earlier, I anticipate we're going to be approximately $300,000 below that with hotel occupancy tax funds. I know that Councilmember Stanley said that that was something he would support. I think everyone here in our conversations indicated that they would support it as well. But you also have the option of using Civic Center bond proceeds to pay for this project. You direct me what direction you want to go, and I will do that. My plan would be, or my recommendation would be, to pay for it with hotel occupancy tax funds. We will restore those funds over time. It does take away from our ability to be able to address large repairs over at the Civic Center in the short term, but we will replenish those funds inside the hotel occupancy tax fund. You also, at any point in the future during the Civic Center project, council could choose to reimburse the hot fund with proceeds from the Civic Center bond. I'm not recommending we do that. I'm just giving you all of the options that are available to you. So we do have adequate hotel occupancy tax funds to pay for that.
Okay. Council? Any additional questions?
I think we ought to proceed.
Okay. And are you okay with the hotel occupancy tax using those funds?
I am too.
Okay.
I do have another question. I visited with Jerry Danforth earlier today, and I'm in favor of this project. But I'd like for him to explain, if he could, the location of the building so other council members would know about it. I don't know if you can put it up on the screen or not. But you may not. I didn't warn you ahead of time.
Well, I think,
Yeah, I know.
can we get a Google map on there?
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, come here. Is it? So we're talking about this sandy area right there, right?
Yeah.
The sandy area?
In that dark area, that dark area is the boundary. So 300 feet by 200 feet.
Gotcha.
It is just to the south of.
That's this
Yeah,
right here.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what I thought it was.
So,
Yeah.
but we'll get it up so everyone can see it. There we go. So on that picture, well, Jerry, you go ahead.
Yeah, as you see reflected in the photograph here of the site, if you'll look at the approach on 4th Street, where you're coming into the Santa Fe Depot, and there along Grant, a city block is 300 feet. So you're looking at running the face of Grant in that light shaded area, and then 200 feet deep back towards the Santa Fe Depot itself.
Okay.
The reason that we're doing that, to answer Councilman Smith's question, and it was part of our conversation earlier today, taking a look at it. Right now, when the rodeo sets up their tents on that site, because of the way tents have to be erected, they're only able to set 2 tents. And I believe they represented that here at the meeting on Tuesday. The problem with 2 tents is it doesn't give them enough capacity for what they've expanded to for this year and future years, with youth rodeo becoming a part of it. So they would, in essence, need 3 tents. Well, we can't, on this site, place 3 tents, nor do we have another location readily available that could accommodate another tent that size. However, if we do a pavilion, the pavilion is adequate to cover their full set of needs under one structure. So as we looked at what land was available to us on this site and addressing their needs, that allowed us to get everything they needed within one facility.
So did you also keep if I remember correctly, there's kind of a protective fencing that's all the way around that property. Will it be able to be built within that protective fencing and be able to still keep that there?
Absolutely. It stays within the protective fencing, and the access points actually become from 4th Street where it approaches the depot, and then also from the east side in between the tracks and the future pavilion.
Oh, really? Okay.
So there would be 2 major points of access to that facility.
So there's not an access point off of 5th?
No, there's not. 5th Street creates some challenges for us. We have a lot of utilities that come under the railroad track and cross there at 5th Street, and we can't build over the top of or build in that area.
Oh, I just wondered if the entrance might be considered at that point.
It becomes difficult because of the elevation change right there at 5th Street.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Let me explain a little more about my concern, but I'm over it and I'm for it. But with where the pavilion would be, it's going to make the depot not as visible.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted y'all to be aware of it.
But you still have that grand entrance into or what I think is a pretty cool entrance off of 4th Street into the depot, so that part will still be good.
That would be the main entrance.
Yeah.
Would be Grant.
Yeah.
Johnson would be closed up.
Well, but you know what? From looking at that view right there, Howard, I think you're still going to get a pretty darn good view when you look at this on Google Maps. You're going to get you're still going to get a great shot of Santa Fe Depot.
Yeah. I'm fine.
Okay, any other questions, council?
I move to authorize the city manager, Jared Miller, to execute all documents necessary for the erection of a steel building approximately 60,000 square feet in the amount not to exceed $3 million to be funded with hot money.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Dr. Eddie Sauer and a second by Councilmember Howard Smith to move to authorize the city manager, Jared Miller, to execute all documents necessary for the erection of a steel building approximately 60,000 feet in the amount not to exceed $3 million. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes 3-0. With that, that's all the business that we have to take up today on our agenda. So we are now adjourned. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here, and appreciate everyone showing up.